Well, Trump supporters are hoping a strong debate performance Wednesday. An outrage over the Clinton campaign emails ridiculing religious conservatives will boost turnout for Republicans up and down the November ballot. Earlier, we spoke to Congressman Reed Ribble, a staunch never-Trump Republican. Now, Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Kelly, an unwavering Trump backer, joins us from Pennsylvania, one of the must-win battleground states. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's great to be on with you.
And I don't know if you were able to hear Congressman Reed Ribble earlier. Obviously, one of your peers, if you will. He said
Sure.
that he is feeling increasingly disgusted. I want to get your response to those frustrations.
Well, listen, I do understand the frustration, but I mean, Reed was a never Trump guy from the beginning. I have been a never Hillary guy from the beginning because, as we've seen, there is a public Hillary and there is a private Hillary. When you look at the two candidates, Mr. Trump is pretty much out in front. There's not too much people say, I know.
Well, some people will argue, sir, and I do so respectfully, that there is a public Donald Trump and a private Donald Trump. Even he has said that.
Well, you know, the private Donald Trump that I know is a guy who I have great faith in and a man who's accomplished very much. But when I talk about the public Hillary, let's talk about somebody who looks at what she thinks needs to be said for where she's at to gain polls. And a private Hillary Clinton talks about what's really in her heart. I know this week, the revelations in WikiLeaks, when it comes to people like myself, I'm a Roman Catholic, evangelicals, Jews, whoever it is that you are, if you're a person of faith, these folks, especially this elitist group that's inside Washington, they seem to think that we are the great unwashed, and we just don't really get it. And that's why you have to have a bigger government that can make every decision for you, because you're just not quite the person that's needed for right now. So I'm a never Hillary guy for a number of reasons, but the generational loss of the Supreme Court to be something that all of us look at and say, are we really willing to let these other distractions take us away from the most critical part of what our life is going to be revolved around the next couple of years, and it is the Supreme Court.
Okay, well, you did talk, obviously, like you said, you're a Roman Catholic, which one would say one of your biggest preferences would be someone who holds family values near and dear to their heart. So I want to ask you first and foremost your response to the accusations this week. And I know that you said in your opinion piece that policy trumps all. Forgive my pun there, but policy that you feel this Republican nominee would state during his tenure, you feel like that's more important than anything else?
Well, here's what I think. A dynamic and robust economy solves a lot of problems. We have to have that type of an economy. Listen, middle-income people and lower-income people, people of color have suffered more than anybody in the last 8 years. So I'm telling people, take a look at the most important things in your life. Try to separate those things that are distraction from those things that have to be done. These are things that are needed right now. And I've got to tell you, I look at a combination. You know, we have the better way. The Republicans have put out a policy book that tells you where we would lead the country: lower taxes, less regulations, allow people to rise again, and communities to thrive, schools to thrive, and more importantly than anything else, families to be able to be self-sustained and not relying on a government program that's unsustainable. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I will tell you this. You combine a person who's as deep as the Pacific Ocean in policy as Speaker Paul Ryan. You combine that with a Senate that will work on the same legislation. You combine it with a high-energy executive like Donald Trump, who has spent his whole life working with people to reach mutually beneficial goals. And that's what allows America to be great again. That's what allows us all to rise again.
But what I'm hearing from you is that folks and Congress need to work together. And we just had an example where we had Congressman Ribble on here. You two very much disagree. You are members of the same party. So
we are.
So how do you explain that to voters?
Well, here's a look. I explain to voters this way. Look at yourself. Look at where you are as a person. Look where you'd like our country to be, where you want your children and your grandchildren to be. Look backwards and see where we are. Now, listen, I have great respect for Reed. He and I are good friends. But he's been a never Trump guy from the beginning. Whenever the primaries were held, and the most votes ever accrued in a Republican primary for president by Donald Trump with 16 other people in that primary, I always say this: the people made the decision. Now, members of Congress may not agree with it. I have friends who are they're dynamic about when they want Trump, and there's some that they're not happy with that. But I said, wasn't it up to our voters? Wasn't it up to the primary process? Wasn't that who we really relied on it? And I'm getting sick and tired of people from Washington think that somehow within that little circle of influence that they know more than the people who are outside, people who I see every day that wake up every morning with one goal, and one goal in mind, Elizabeth, keep this in mind. They want to keep a roof over the head of their children, food on their table, clothes on their back, and save some money for the future. Right. A dynamic and robust economy is the only way to get there. And then the other things, when it comes to Roman Catholics, I am outraged that a group of people, elitists, would sit down and make fun of us and then chastise a person who chooses to have his child baptized as being somehow not worthy.
All right, well, Congressman Kelly, I really hate to cut you off, but we're up against a break as far as timing is concerned. I thank you for your time, and we see both sides of the argument. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.